world, conflicts and tensions anywhere are going to cause problems everywhere. That it's no longer regional. It can't be, oh, it's out there and it's just between, those guys. It's going to come at everybody in some form or the other. So I would say today there is a huge, when we do these Global South summits, we've done 3 of them so far. The Global South is extremely concerned about new factors of stress, tension, anxiety, more pressures on the system because they are at the bottom of the chain. I'm part of them. We feel the pain. So I do think today people want, they want reassurance, they want stability, they don't want sharper, life is tough enough. Nobody wants more anxiety.
And that leads perhaps to a question about the new Japanese Prime Minister's call for something like an Asian NATO. How do you think about that possibility?
Well, you look, he comes, he's Japanese. This is a country which has a treaty relationship with the United States. So I guess when countries have that history and that strategic culture, their lexicon and their thinking would be along that direction. We have never been a treaty ally of any country. We don't have that kind of strategic architecture in mind. So it would be his point of view. I guess from where they are coming, I can see, a certain evolution where he is concerned, but it would not be ours. We have, as I say, a different history and a different way of approaching the world.
When I think about the relationships that India has cultivated, I think about the technology relationship with the US, and certainly one perhaps signature feature of the India-US relationship in these 2 governments has been a deepening of the technology ties. When the discussion turns to artificial intelligence, of course, there are a whole range of issues, from semiconductors to compute, how much of it is sovereign, data, the human capital piece that you mentioned. But I just note to highlight the enormous change happening in that field right now. If we fed into any number of AI systems simply a prompt of what would a conversation between the Indian External Affairs Minister and the President of Carnegie sound like, the system could have generated something like this. Not as good as what we're doing, perhaps, but the technology is changing quickly. How do you see the cooperation between India and the US on this AI technology, and where do you want it to be in the next few years?
I see very strong possibilities because, as I have mentioned, there's a technology convergence. There is a certain, this is important. In a data-driven world, I think the issues of privacy, of security, of what are systems, what is law, what is allowed, what is not allowed, what are you comfortable doing, what are you not comfortable doing, I think all these become very important. So I see a certain convergence here. This is not a transactional convergence. It is one too, but I think there's also underlying it a kind of a comfort and a belief convergence. Think about it. Would you feel the same if your personal data, where does it reside, who has access, which company is looking at it? You would make a difference. It wouldn't be this. You wouldn't be agnostic about it. So, to some extent, I'm extrapolating it into the world of AI as well. There would be partners of comfort. There would be enterprises in a way with whom you would say, okay, I can work with these guys. Maybe I'd have a problem with those guys. So we have. To me, this is an area where our conversations, and on the ground our cooperation with the United States has grown a lot. And interestingly, it has done with Europe as well. Europe has a mechanism called the Trade and Technology Council. It has it only with the US, which was the original one, and then it decided to have one with India. So I think there is a commonality here. Definitely for us, the US would be the major partner, but I can imagine other partners who could be part of something like this, and Europe would to my mind, very much fit the bill. To some extent, Japan would as well. That same level of your assumptions and your postulates at a very basic level would be similar for you to have those, which might be not so easy with those who don't have the same postulates.
We have only a few minutes left, and I want to appreciate that we've covered a great many topics. We've talked about technology, strategic security issues, diplomacy, international economics. That raises a question from somebody in our audience about how you think about trade-offs, where perhaps it's difficult to achieve all goals, and in particular, how you've thought about situations where there might be some tension between security strategy on the one hand and international economics on the other.
Whoever asked that question is a very grounded person, because that's my life. How do you make trade-offs? Because there is no relationship where it's all one way. I mean, nothing is completely bad and nothing is always great. So life is, and it's, you're constantly, in a sense, searching for the good, for the optimal. You would like the perfect, but it's very rare to actually have that situation. So I would, in a way, if you were to say, okay, what's the trade-off between something economic and something security? I can understand why somebody would ask that question, but I put it to you today that actually many more things economic have become more security. That if you look back at the COVID era, did not the ability to meet your health needs become a security issue? Look at the Ukraine conflict. For many countries, the ability to access food is a security issue, because you had riots and even governments, regimes collapsing because of food problems. So what is the definition? It's partly globalization and the leveraging. If people leverage market shares, economics is no longer just economics. If technology gives you an interpenetrative ability and strong dependency, it's no longer just technology. I would argue that in the last 5 years especially, maybe a little bit more, almost everything, the world has seen the weaponization of everything, or the possible weaponization of everything. And if something can be weaponized, then it's no longer what the original domain was. Anything weaponized means it's now part of a security calculus. So I would argue today that we live in a much more security-sensitive world. When we make choices, when we do our calculations, what would have been much more limited or unidimensional earlier, today I would factor in, what does that exposure mean? What does this dependency mean? Do I actually allow another country or another company to come and have, it can be as a supplier, as a consumer, as a service provider. Every one of these can be, and it's not hypothetical. Just look at the history of the world in the last 10 years. It's a history where, even bananas have been weaponized.